I-10 freeway. It was on the surface streets for a little bit, but we were basically starting out almost in the Eagle Rock area and made its way out here to Pasadena, now turning around, coming back the other direction. Now you can clearly see that this motorcycle not driving too recklessly, which is a huge plus. My worry is basically for that rider, especially if it's stolen, because when you hear things like stolen motorcycle, you wonder, is this an experienced rider or not? That bike does seem to be kind of a little jerky, so I'm still not 100% on this person not being an experienced rider. As far as law enforcement, there's a helicopter above it. It's going to be Police 100. That is going to be part of the Glendale, Pasadena law enforcement community, and they did have ground units when it was on Colorado just moments ago, but now it's back on the freeway. I'm not sure if the California Highway Patrol is going to join the chase or not. Traffic, well, we definitely have a lot of it, but that might be a big plus for that motorcycle, or it may help that motorcycle get a little bit more distance between him and any of the law enforcement. Right now, though, it's basically just a motorcycle driving on the freeway. A lot of these folks that are passing and nearby it have no idea that this vehicle is wanted by law enforcement.
Behind him, at least from this vantage point, we know that there's an airship above tracking this cyclist, but not a lot of black and white behind him. So people unsuspectingly riding down that freeway right there. But again, when you talk about the experience of a person trying to steal a motorcycle, you kind of have to know something about how to ride a bike like that, right?
Definitely, and in the past we've seen some of them where you clearly are watching that person struggling to drive that motorcycle. This one, it looks like it's definitely a street bike, and you can see it's missing a lot of the cowlings on it, and maybe on some kind of stunt bike or something like that. Let me get out of that doubler, and you can see it actually starting to pick up some speed. We'll bring up the speedometer for you guys as well, so you can follow along at home. But it's not crazy high speeds. We're not seeing triple digits. We're not seeing him zipping past a lot of these other cars on the freeway. He's basically just riding with traffic out here, which again kind of makes me believe that this person not that experienced with a motorcycle, and that might be where the stolen bike comes into all that. And it also makes me a little bit more worried, because an unexperienced rider, even at freeway or speeds or traffic speeds, it's still a very dangerous situation. One wrong move and colliding with something. And now we're getting some more information from Melissa at our desk, who's always on it, is saying that it's had no license plates on it, and that's the reason why they tried to pull it over originally. Hearing that there is one black and white nearby, I don't want to lose that motorcycle, but you can see one of them right there. That is a Glendale unit. So that, you know what, honestly, that law enforcement may just be driving back to their location. They might have been told, don't chase this guy. Just come back to Glendale, and that might be what's happening right now.
Yeah, at the same time, you wonder, this person is definitely prepared with a helmet, if that's the case, and obviously safety is a precaution. The person was stopping at traffic lights, as we saw, so not too dangerous in terms of speeds as well. So I don't know if he's experienced or not. Maybe a little bit of experience on a motorcycle like that, but as you mentioned, when you pushed in, that the motorcycle is very unique and different. It looks outfitted a certain way, right, with no license plate either. It's not your typical motorcycle that you see day to day.
Yeah, I would venture to say this might be some sort of stunt bike, or a bike that they bring to events, or maybe ride around illegally. Clearly, that's what's happening right now. No license plate, I definitely believe that. And that was the original reason. Now what we're getting information from our assignment desk, that was the original reason for them trying to pull it over. But that driving technique, if this is a stunt bike, and that would be a stunt rider, I'm doing the air quotes, you can't see me, but if that was a stunt rider, we'd be seeing a lot more aggressive moves, a lot faster, and basically zipping in and out of traffic. This bike basically just keeping the speed limit, and the way that rider is posturing and what I'm watching that rider do, I venture to say not that experienced of a rider, which makes me a little nervous. I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I don't want to see that rider get hurt, but you can see it right there, 60 miles an hour. He's not even, basically just doing the speed limit, picking up a little bit. Right. And I'm hearing right now that they're they're getting information from the PD ship above it that there are still ground units behind him, and they are still following him, and this is still an active pursuit now on the 134.
Yeah, it's interesting to see if whether or not this driver is just out for a joyride, kind of saw that stunt bike and hopped on and took it for a ride now, or whether it's an experienced rider, as you mentioned, that would be doing more high speeds and tricks and weaving in and out. So we don't know, obviously, but the original want from the Glendale PD is the fact that this bike, this motorcycle, does not have a license plate. And so perhaps they tried to stop this person, pull him over, but didn't stop, and then this pursuit began. So right now we have been watching this for a few minutes at least, but this has been going on for at least 10, 15 minutes or so, and it was going in the area of Pasadena and Old Town around Colorado. You said this driver went through Eagle Rock, but now on the 210 freeway or 134, where are we exactly right now?
134, we're coming up on the 2, or we're going to be getting very close to the 2. I'm looking out the window, and I can tell you that either we're just passing it or this is it right here. So we're right by the 2 freeway, and I believe that actually is the borderline. So we're definitely in Glendale. There is no doubt about that. These speeds continuing about just, now we're starting to see some higher numbers. There's a lot less traffic out there, but you can see this rider kind of posturing, doing that, like go, 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 like he's egging on a horse. Looks like we're getting over. This might be an attempt for an off-ramp, but at these high speeds, I just worry about that rider more than anything else. There seems to be a black vehicle very close behind it, and I think that is an unmarked law enforcement, or it is marked. You can see some flashing lights right there. So it's a difficult call for law enforcement. They don't want to see that rider injured, and they don't want to push that rider past his skill set, but they definitely want to bring this thing to an end, and they definitely are making themselves known. That's a really sharp turn. This is what I'm talking about. This is not an experienced rider. That is not an experienced rider. And you can see the motorcycle, the law enforcement just trying to get up close to it, just to kind of just maybe bump it just a little bit, especially when it's going slow. Wrong side of the road right now. Hopefully it gets back onto the right side of the road. But that move right there, that told me all I needed to know. This is definitely not an experienced rider, which makes this so much more dangerous for that person.
Yeah, in all scenarios, what we're looking at here is the driver of that motorcycle, the rider there, certainly at a disadvantage when it comes to any type of safety precaution, because as you know, look how exposed that person is riding a motorcycle or this type of stunt bike. Any collision, any fall, any kind of action, with someone else, that person is going to get hurt. There's no doubt about it, because anyone else in a vehicle or otherwise would be protected, right, by a car. But in this case, that rider is so exposed, going so fast, and now driving very recklessly because they don't really know how to control that motorbike, and clearly going on residential streets right now is very dangerous.
And you saw that too, just a little bit of that wiggle in that rear wheel. Every time that something like any move that this person is making, besides even on the straight lines, I am really, really concerned for that rider's safety, and of course the public as well. That a heavy motor that's a couple hundred pounds moving along at even 40, 50 miles an hour definitely could injure somebody, even in a vehicle, or take their life if it's a pedestrian. So this is definitely very dangerous for everybody involved. And again, we're probably never going to hear where or how this motorcycle came into this rider's possession, but it is definitely a very dangerous situation. Law enforcement, now this is going to be Glendale, I really don't know how they handle things like this or what their policies are, but that rider clearly not very familiar with riding a motorcycle, especially not one with that kind of power, and you can see that there are people in the roadway right there making these turns. I'm not sure if he knows where he's going or just picking random streets out here, because we're in very residential neighborhoods, and I'm keeping an eye out. There was actually a car backing out in this vehicle, and now we're coming up on a busy street. And those right turns, probably the best thing he could do. But that black vehicle that we see every now and then in the shot behind it, that is definitely law enforcement, and that officer doing what he can to keep the public safe and to bring this thing to an end safely. How he's going to do that, or she, We don't know. Hopefully this person is going to either run out of steam, run out of gas, or just make the wise decision like, okay, this is enough, I'm just going to stop.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I'm no expert on motorcycles or these type of motorbikes, how big the gas tank is on this, or perhaps if it's a kind of hybrid situation, but clearly less gas in the tank than a car, so how long can this motorist go for?
Oh, these bikes can go for a while if that thing has a full tank of gas or even 5 gallons in there. But look at how jerky the motions are. This is a rider that's not familiar with the gear pattern, not familiar with how to drive with clutch, and it just it really truly scares me. I know you hear a little chuckle in my voice, but that's the only thing I can do to calm myself. I'm just really worried that this is going to end poorly, or at least with some sort of injury. Coming underneath us right there, Skyfox going to do a beautiful pirouette. Look at that, and you can see some of the other traffic as we did that wider shot. So he is not getting, dangerously close, yes, but desperately close, no. He seems to be keeping distance from all the other vehicles, which is probably the only thing he can do. But again, making wide turns, hard cuts right there. A lot of other vehicles that just might not see this person.
She'll try to kind of cut off the motorcycle at one point as he was exiting the freeway, making a really wide turn, trying to kind of pit him. But you have to be so careful because of the fact that the driver's so exposed, only wearing a helmet, and any little move, any little fall, any little collision can really cause a lot of damage and injury.
Definitely, and that is, you put into words all of my fears. I really mean that, Sandra. This thing it just keeps going, and thank goodness it hasn't ended poorly. But still riding very erratically out here on these roadways, making our way in and out of the area. We're definitely still going to be. Now we're in Glazell Park, so LAPD might get involved with this. I'm not. And we have an LAPD ship actually over it right now. I don't know if they relieved Police 100, but it's definitely wrong side of the road, and these higher speeds again. It's just so dangerous. And the most of that danger, like you said, is going to be for that rider. That rider is the one that's putting themselves in the biggest vulnerability for injury, and it just continues out here. But as far as law enforcement, that one law enforcement officer right there, you really got to give him props. And still just kind of driving very erratically down there, trying to stay in that center area, which may or may not be better, because if he's going to stay off to the right side, he has that possibility of somebody making a right turn, going to be going right underneath us, Dylan, right underneath us, and again picking up some speed. But right now, no law enforcement underneath him. They do have a helicopter above him, but that's the thing too. Is like a lot of times people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, of course they're going to hear that helicopter." I have not seen this person with that helmet on. You got to think about that as well. Look up once, so I'm not sure why this person's still driving so erratically. I'm still very hopeful that it's something he's going to click and is going to be like, "Okay, I'm parking the bike. I'm on foot. I'm just going to try to hide." But right now we can see it keeping up those higher speeds, especially for downtown Los Angeles, and definitely kind of staying in that area where the government buildings are. We're very close to
where to go. But
he could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like, it looks like he's making some decisions here. It looks like we actually pulled into an apartment building. This is going to be, what is the name of this? This is the one that caught fire a while ago. Picasso. Is it Picasso?
Oh,
I think it's the Picasso.
Okay.
And,
right by the freeway right there.
It just made a turn. Yeah, he made a turn into that parking garage. So I'm going to stay a little bit wider, not for problems of him being injured, but to see if I see anybody running through the courtyard areas or acting unusual. That motorcycle actually had a helmet attached to it on the side. So I'm wondering maybe there was just like we were talking about, just convenient.
Right.
That he was able to, and how did he get into that parking garage? I've ridden my bike past here many a times, and I know that these are, electric gates. So maybe it was just an opportunity. He saw it, opening, so he went ahead and jumped in there. But law enforcement definitely knows. LAPD is talking about it right now. They actually have some units nearby Not sure what they're discussing over here, because I know for a fact that he wound up, he went into this building. But at any rate,
Oh, there they
we're
are,
going to keep
the
an eye
black
on
and
it and
Yep.
and
I
see
mean,
what law enforcement's going to do.
that's a huge complex. Easy for someone to hide, to get lost, to kind of, wait it out, if you will, right? There's so many places that that person can be to kind of escape, shall we say, from this situation. If in fact that motorcyclist went inside and is underneath of the parking structure right now, but a lot of black and whites around, but there's just so many places that this driver could escape to, run out from. We don't know if they're holed up in someone's apartment, because that complex is big.
Yes, very big.
Thank you so much for being on top of that and your crew in Skyfox. For now, you will keep your eye on that. We'll have so much more later this evening on Fox 11 News. But for now, let's return to regular programming.